Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good wherever you may be on this fine, beautiful planet. Before I jump into today's video, I'm probably going to take a step back from doing these videos because I will be focusing a lot of my time on the Killing Time experience. My friend Felissa Rose, you may know her as Angela Baker from Sleepaway Camp. She gives me a ring. She's like, hey, I want to do a podcast. I'm like, cool, you have the personality. You should totally do it. We talk about what to do. And then she's like, I gotta bring my friend Brett Wagner on this. Big swag. Brett was in the 2003 remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre playing Leatherface. We came up with something kind of cool to do, something to be fun and on a visual sense of a podcast. We're gonna have some really cool guests there. A lot of the horror fans will really love that. The people that we're talking about are just really cool. I mean, talking about bringing on the director of photography from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be a guest like this, like just the opportunities are going to be endless, they say. And I'll also be on there too. My face will be there in and out. I'll be editing, I'll be chiming in, I'll be traveling with them, I'll be doing a bunch of the stuff, and we're starting from ground zero, trying to get our way up off the ground. So that being said, please go to the YouTube channel Killing Time Experience and subscribe, hit those notifications, and stay tuned. First episode will come out this Wednesday, February 5th. Hopefully this video will be posted before then, but February 5th at 12 p.m. PST time is when we will be releasing the very first episode, which is pretty much just an introductory type of episode. That being said, I feel like, keeping with the horror world, what I want to do with this video especially, are you single? Are you a guy? Are you lonely? Well, then this video is right for you, because if you have nothing to do on Valentine's Day, like me, I'm going to recommend 3 fun movies for a single person. I guess you don't have to be a single guy. You could be all the single ladies. Where are you at? You can be single female as well and watch these movies as well. So I feel like after talking about the Killing Time Experience podcast, I feel like we should probably talk about My Bloody Valentine first. My Bloody Valentine from 1981 is about the mining town of Valentine Bluffs. A group of young people throw a Valentine's Day dance, the first in 20 years. However, their celebration is cut short when a masked killer in full miner's gear starts brutally murdering them. The town's dark past reveals a horrifying legend. Years ago, a miner named Harry Warden went on a killing spree after surviving a cave-in due to negligence. As bodies pile up, the question remains, has Harry returned, or is someone else behind the bloody massacre? Dun dun dun. This movie is a lot of fun. It's a Canadian production. I love my Canucks. I love yous. You always make a good movie. This movie came out on February 11th, 1981, so it's just a great fun 80s slasher film. It's kind of fun because it has this it's a blue collar type movie. It's a bunch of miners that are having fun, and it's it's one of those towns where after you graduate high school, you're not going to college. You're going to work because your daddy told you so, and that's just what you do in this town. It's a very fun whodunit movie. I feel like we don't get those horror whodunit movies anymore, and I feel like it's a bummer that Hollywood, or just a lot of just movies and horror movies in general, they're not really focused on doing those fun whodunit horror movies anymore. They're so focused on just social commentary, and it's you could do that too, but also throw in a whodunit, nobody's asking for it, but I do love those type of horror movies. So the director, George Milhaka, sorry if I'm butchering that last name, but we're gonna talk about his problems that he faced with the MPAA. Originally, My Bloody Valentine was much gorier, but the MPAA forced Greg to cut 9 minutes of violence and gore to avoid an X rating. The good news to this all is that a restored version with some of the lost footage was finally released in 2009. Shout Factory, Scream Factory, they released a Blu-ray, and I believe it's on, I don't know if I had to check. They released a Blu-ray version, but also most recently a 4K version of My Bloody Valentine. And it does have the uncut version and the rated version. The uncut version, I always enjoy when an uncut version is released and it still has the shitty quality to it. It wasn't cleaned up or anything like that, because then you can see oh, that was new. The uncut stuff in it, but not finessed and making it look pretty. So then I can tell the difference. The movie was shot in an actual coal mine in Nova Scotia, Canada. But when the production crew arrived, the owners had freshly cleaned the mine to impress Hollywood, ruining its gritty, abandoned look. The crew had to dirty it back up to match the horror vibe. I personally love movies that have these cool like locations, like a mine. Like imagine like how much fun that would be to go film. It also just like adds to an element to be like an actor that's literally, they're not on set, they're not on like a sound stage or anything like that. And you're really in this atmosphere, and that really drives, I think, an actor to really just get into that role and get into that feel, as opposed to like getting carted up by a golf cart and be like, okay, here's your coffee, enjoy your day on set, and you're walking onto, you know, these facades that were built and all that stuff. So this is really cool. I'm assuming probably they did something like that. They probably built some facades when they did the remake of My Bloody Valentine, but we'll get there. Unlike many 80s slashers, My Bloody Valentine only had 10 on-screen kills, but each one was creative and gruesome. A woman boiled alive in a dryer, probably my favorite. A man impaled on a pickaxe, so good. And a heart stuffed in a candy box. That scene is so funny. The old sheriff's just like, oh my God. It's just such, it's comedic. It's hilarious. It's funny. I love it. The film was meant to have a direct sequel, but due to underwhelming box office numbers, thanks to the MPAA's cuts, it never got made. Instead, in 2009, a 3D remake, My Bloody Valentine 3D, was released, embracing full-on gory kills and over-the-top 3D effects. I remember seeing that release in 2009, and it was such a fun time. This was like the huge craze of 3D. If you young kids, you wouldn't know or don't remember. Big craze nowadays is IMAX. Oh, let's put this movie that has no business being in this format on an IMAX screen. It's all a gimmick. Sorry to ruin the whole thing for you there, kids. The big gimmick when I was growing up, my good old day, was 3D movies. Every single movie had this 3D release. Like it just didn't need it. I think like even Titanic came out in 3D. Like what did we need that for? But this one was actually kind of fun. They did some fun things where like, you know, they threw the axe and it was like coming towards you. Like they're little fun things. It was fun. It was fun. And actually to this day, like that movie is really fun to just throw on and have a great time with, as opposed to the original. It's, you know, it took itself seriously. I don't, no jab at the original or anything like that, but the 1981 My Bloody Valentine it's a horror movie. It's fun. It's, you know, as time went on, it's now fun though. But back then they were like, this is the scariest thing on the damn planet. My Bloody Valentine may not have been a box office hit in 1981, but it has since become a fan favorite slasher thanks to its intense kills, eerie underground setting, and chilling killer design. If you haven't seen it, grab some heart-shaped chocolates, turn off the lights, and prepare for a love story drenched in blood. If I remember correctly, the tagline to this movie, or one of the taglines to this movie, are like, roses are red, violets are blue, one is dead, and so are you. Next up on the docket, let's talk about a fun movie that I think is probably one of the best comedy movies of these days. This movie came out on April 18th, 2008, directed by Nicholas Stoller, written and starring Jason Segel, and one of my favorite, Mila Kunis. Oh, such a crush. I have such a crush on Mila Kunis. Let's get real. Sorry, Ashton. But anyway, that movie is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Peter Breder, played by Jason Segel, is a lovable but aimless musician best known for composing music for his girlfriend Sarah Marshall's hit TV show, Crime Scene, Scene of the Crime. Sarah Marshall, played by Kristen Bell. But when Sarah brutally dumps him for a British rock star, Aldous Snow, played by Russell Brand, Peter spirals into a heartbreak-fueled depression, drowning in sweatpants, cereal, and sad TV. In an attempt to move on, he books a Hawaiian vacation, only to find out that Sarah and Aldous are staying at the same resort. Chaos, awkward encounters, and unexpected romance ensue as Peter meets the charming Rachel Jansen, played by Mila Kunis, and slowly starts to rebuild his confidence. And there's also a Dracula puppet musical. Didn't know how to fit that one in the synopsis there. This movie it's hilarious as shit. It's so genuinely good. It's just a good movie. You don't need to watch this around Valentine's Day alone, eating ice cream by yourself on the couch. You can watch this whenever. I find this a great movie to fall asleep to as well. The idea came from Segel's actual heartbreak when his girlfriend dumped him while he was naked. He started writing the screenplay right after being dumped and even kept the infamous naked breakup in the film's opening scene. Who broke Segel's heart? He's never confirmed it, but fans speculate it was Linda Cardellini, his Freaks and Geeks co-star. Don't know if that's true. Who knows? Linda Cardellini is also just one of like they always like made Velma on like Scooby-Doo, which I loved as a kid. They always made Velma just like this nerdy woman, but then when like the movie came out and Linda Cardellini played Velma, I'm just like, oh my god, Velma is like the hottest thing on the planet. What the hell's going on? Way to go, Warner Brothers. So the opening scene when he's broken up, and if you haven't seen the movie, I guess don't watch it with your parents or something like that. But there is a part where like he's just completely naked and he's just swaying his junk back and forth, like slapping, like the sound design, you could just hear like the slapping going on. Peter's Dracula rock opera with puppets wasn't just a random plot point. It was a real project Siegel had been working on for years. The idea came from his childhood love of puppetry and the Muppets, which eventually led him to writing and starring in 2011's The Muppet Movie. The full Dracula musical number Die, 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 I Can't, sung in the movie's climax, became a fan favorite. There has been a rumor. Well, I don't know, I guess it's not a rumor because it happened. So he did like a quick bit, like not too long ago, out here in Los Angeles, doing like the characters with the Muppets and stuff. And also apparently he did it like very secretly before, as I've heard. Can we get like a real thing of this? Like why not? Is it a rights issue? It wouldn't make any sense if it was a rights issue. Like that would be the first thing I would be covering in my contract, is like, this is mine, not yours. I don't know why this hasn't been a thing. Maybe it has and I'm completely spacing, but like, bring it back. Let's go, Jason. Russell Brand's character was originally written as a posh British actor, but Brand improvised so well that they rewrote the character as a rock star. His band Infant Sorrow became so popular that it led to a spin-off movie, Get Him to the Greek, in 2010, following Aldous Snow's wild antics. That movie does not hold up because like, isn't there like a whole thing with like P. Diddy and stuff in there? The movie just didn't hold up. And obviously there was all these allegations with Russell Brand. Paul Rudd, stoned, forgetful surf instructor Canoe wasn't in the original script, and almost all of his dialogue was improvised. The famous "When life gives you lemons, just say F the lemons and bail" was 100% improvised. He pretended to forget Peter's name on purpose to mess with Siegel, leading to the hilarious P-Eater running joke. Kristen Bell was still starring in Veronica Mars while filming Forgetting Sarah Marshall, meaning she was working on 2 projects at once. That's called moonlighting. Ironically, her Forgetting Sarah Marshall character is a cheesy crime procedural, a jab at Hollywood shows like CSI, which was the competition of Veronica Mars. The name Rachel Jensen, Mila Kunis's character, comes from Judd Apatow's real-life assistant, who was also the inspiration for Leslie Mann's character in Knocked Up. I still watch a lot of Judd Apatow movies, but there was a phase of Judd Apatow movies where like banger after banger after banger. And it was like the early like Seth Rogen movies, like Pineapple Express, like Apatow produced, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, Apatow produced, Knocked Up, Apatow directed, produced, wrote. And this is how I know I'm getting old, is because movies like This Is 40 and Funny People, like those movies make so much sense now as like an adult. I remember when Funny People came out and I was just like, that wasn't a very funny movie. Like you would think a movie about comedians would be hilarious, but it wasn't the approach. I mean, there's a lot of funny moments in that movie, don't get me wrong, but it was marketed wrong, as Hollywood tends to do on and on and on. Jonah Hill plays Matthew, a hotel worker obsessed with Aldous Snow. Originally, the character was meant to be an aggressive stalker, but Hill's awkward, overly eager improvisation made him more hilarious than creepy. Jonah Hill is like 50% of the reason why you must drop everything and watch this movie now. His character is just the best. Like when like Aldous Snow is like singing and stuff and like this restaurant, and Jonah Hill is just there. He's there. He's like, he doesn't know the words, but he's like trying to know the words. He's like, oh my God, it's so funny. This is why Forgetting Sarah Marshall still holds up to today. It's relatable. It has heartfelt humor. It's not just about breakups, but also self-growth and finding new purpose. It has a perfect cast. Everyone from Jason Segel to Russell Brand to Paul Rudd to Jonah Hill absolutely nails their roles. There's so many unforgettable moments in this movie, from the naked breakup to the Dracula musical. It's full of just comedy gold. If you have a crush on Mila Kunis, you're gonna love her 20,000 times more watching this movie. It launched so many careers for Mila Kunis, for the director Nicholas Stoller, and Russell Brand himself, and everyone became a household name after this movie, you know? Whether you've just been dumped or you just want a hilarious, heartfelt rom-com, Forgetting Sarah Marshall still hits all the high notes. I revisit Forgetting Sarah Marshall maybe at least 2-3 times a year. It's such a fun movie. Once upon a time, I ran into Jason Segel in Ojai, California, and yeah. Good times. Next on our docket is, it was kind of a toss-up here. It was kind of a toss-up to do, but you know, I already have the horror movie. I got the comedy movie. Now let's go for an action movie. And it was such a toss-up to not pick one of my personal favorite movies, which I have the poster for right there. That movie's Shaun of the Dead, but I decided to go with a different Edgar Wright film, and that movie is Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Scott Pilgrim versus the World is about a broke bass player in the Toronto band Sicklerville who falls head over heels for the mysterious Ramona Flowers. But there's a catch. To date Ramona, Scott must defeat her 7 evil exes in battles that are straight out of a video game anime fever dream. As Scott levels up, he learns self-respect, faces his own toxic behaviors, and rocks out in some of the most visually stunning fight sequences ever put on film. The movie stars Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Kieran Culkin, Chris Evans, Brie Larson, and so many more. And the movie was directed by Edgar Wright. If you don't know who Edgar Wright has made great movies like Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, Last Night in Soho, Baby Driver. I believe right now he is taking on with Glenn Powell a remake of The Running Man. Very curious about that. So let's get into some funny facts. You know, I guess it was like a year ago. I saw this movie during its Atmos re-release, Dolby Vision re-release. It was the first movie I went and saw. It might have actually been one of the first movies that played. Actually, it might have been the first movie that played at the reopened Egyptian Theater out here in Los Angeles. And beautiful theater. Just saw The Monkey there a couple weeks ago. I'll be there pretty soon to go catch Lost Highway. And the parking sucks, but it's like if it's the right movie, you gotta make time for it if you're out in the California area and want to go see some historic movie theaters. Anywho, I got off on a different tangent there. I caught this in its re-release and it sounded great. It looked great. It was phenomenal. There was a Q&A with the cast and the director. Beautiful. We love it. I think it's fantastic. The way it's edited, which I love Edgar Wright's editing style, and like he's making those cuts, but he's not physically making those cuts. I love that. But anyway, let's get into some trivia. The actors learned to play their instruments so the band performances would look real. Michael Cera, Scott, is actually a skilled bassist, and he played most of his parts live. However, Mark Webber, who plays Steven Stills, and Allison Pill, who plays Kim Pine, had to learn from scratch. The band Sex Bob-omb had their music written by Beck, while Metric provided Black Sheep for Envy Adams, played by Brie Larson. This was like baby Brie Larson movie. I don't know if this movie was before Short Term 12 or after Short Term 12. I think it was before. I think it was after. I first saw Brie Larson in Short Term 12, and I was just like, this person is amazing. Love that movie. You never saw Short Term 12. But then I see her pop up in this movie, and she plays Envy Adams, who is Scott's ex-girlfriend, who dumped him to be with Brandon Routh, you know, Superman, the vegan lover. In this movie. Like Brie Larson went on to become, what is she in? Captain Marvel? I'd tap out of those Marvel movies. But she became a superhero, you know, in a movie. And it's so funny that like a lot of this cast went on to be superheroes or before played a superhero. Lucas Lee, played by Chris Evans, was cast before he became Captain America. Todd Ingram, played by Brandon Routh, had already played Superman in Superman Returns. Brie Larson performed her own vocals for Black Sheep, but in the original soundtrack, Metric's version was used instead. Fans campaigned for Brie's version, and in 2021, it was finally released as a single, hitting the charts a decade later. Brie Larson, I believe, was like a singer before she became an actress, or was doing both, and acting clearly took off. Most shots in the movie are panel-for-panel recreations of Brian Lee O'Malley's graphic novel series. The cast even matched their characters' body language and expressions from the comics. The text, speed lines, and sound effects in the film make it feel like a comic book come to life. I was going to Canada to film a podcast. I can give the exact date now because now I'm remembering because I saw Brian Lee O'Malley. So I saw Brian Lee O'Malley on a plane going to Canada the day after the screening that I saw at the Egyptian. Kind of funny. But anywho, the cast even matched their characters' body language and expressions from the comics. The text, speed lines, and sound effects in the film make it feel like a comic book come to life. The movie has over 100 video game references. The opening Universal Studios logo is pixelated, and the theme song is played in 8-bit style, a nod to classic Nintendo intros. Scott gains 1-ups and extra lives like a video game character. Sound effects from Zelda, Street Fighter, Sonic, and Final Fantasy are scattered throughout the movie. The verses intros before fights mirror fighting games like Tekken and Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. Unfortunately, as great as a movie that this movie is, it became a cult classic after it completely bombed at the movie theater. Despite glowing reviews, Scott Pilgrim flopped at the box office, only making $49 million worldwide on a $60 million budget. That is not good. But, however, thanks to DVDs, streaming, die-hard fans, this movie has become the beloved cult classic. And it's so funny. It's kind of like it's this weird like Universal Studios process. What the hell is Universal Studios doing? They pick these movies, they give a budget, they let it do its thing. It's this nice little niche type of movie. And then it comes out, bombs. Then it comes out on, video on demand, whatever the hell, some, Bob streaming service. Then it finds this audience and it becomes a cult process. We've seen this so many times with movies like Mallrats, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I just feel like this happens a lot with Universal Studios. Oh, what the hell you guys are doing? Scott Pilgrim is still very legendary because of insanely creative visuals. Every fight scene and joke is packed with comic book and video game energy. It's got memorable characters from Scott's awkward charm to Wallace Wells' legendary burns. Every character is unique. It's got a banging soundtrack from Beck's garage rock to Brie Larson's Black Sheep. The music still slaps today, and it's pure Edgar Wright magic. There's fast edits, hilarious visual gags, and blink and you miss it jokes keep the movie endlessly rewatchable. Whether you're a gamer, comic fan, music lover, or just a sucker for quirky romance, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World is still a masterpiece. Would you fight 7 evil exes for your dream girl guy? I don't know if I would. I ain't got it in me. I'm a lover, not a fighter there, sweetheart. Anywho, so that is it for today, and it probably for a while. Once again, please catch me over at the Killing Time Experience podcast, where I'll be filming it, I will be editing it, I will be chiming in, traveling with them. It's going to be so much fun. You'll be able to see us in person at conventions. It's going to be a great time. I'm super looking forward to it. It's also going to be really hard to schedule because I'm going out and making a movie come May, so that's going to be great. That movie is Sicklerville. Get your butt strapped on. We've been locking in our cast. Actually, pretty much the main cast is locked in. I've been having so much fun just grabbing the day players that are coming in for the day to do their thing, get the hell out. So tune in over there. Go follow the Instagram page, which is Killing Time Experience, and then the YouTube page. Please subscribe, turn on those notifications, and once again, the first episode will come out this Wednesday, February 5th. 12 p.m. PST, and then it's gonna be a wild ride from there. So I'm not tuning out. I'm not saying goodbye forever, but you're just gonna have to go catch me somewhere else, and then I'm gonna go make a movie. Everyone's gonna come along on that journey. I've already started doing vlogs and stuff that I'll be releasing accordingly. And then there's a horror movie that I made with a couple of friends, and that will be coming out very soon as well. Literally staring at the contract as I'm saying this. Things are happening. 2025 is going to be a wild time. It is already February, and literally maybe I'll do this again sometime soon.